Maestro with a boot by about 6 months. Well, we move on. There's been a death in the family, and that family is the sometimes tempestuous family of British newspapers. Tonight, after 112 years, the Manchester-based Sporting Chronicle will print its final copy. Tomorrow it will disappear forever from the racetracks and betting shops. As one of its staff told us today, publishing racing papers has sadly become a license to lose money. Lindsay Charlton has been looking at a newspaper legend which is now a non-runner.
It began in a small Manchester printing shop in 1871, the creation of a compositor named Edward Holton, the founder of what is now Thomson Newspapers, who called his racing paper first the Tissue and then the Prophetic Bell. And it will end in just a few hours' time when the 32,000th, 814th edition of the Sporting Chronicle comes off the inky black press. The end of any company, the looming presence of redundancy, has a particular poignancy, but the death of a newspaper seems especially tragic. The smell of the ink, the clatter of the linotype machines, the printer's jargon, a tradition which can trace its way back to Caxton. When a newspaper dies, a community of crafts goes with it, and irreplaceable characters like tipster Dick Adderley, backing winners for 40 years, and sub-editor Arthur Worley, a Manchester journalist for 50.
Well, I think the Sporting Chronicle, being 112 years old, has been very, very much a part of the way of life of the people in this part of the country, certainly in the north. And I think the identity of the reader with the paper is much, much closer. And of course we do come closer to them because we do settle certain personal affairs for them and arbitrate for them.
In its heyday, the Sporting Chronicle had a circulation of 120,000, but now it's only 33,000. It may still be the punter's Bible, but less people are willing to buy its particular religion. The reasons are various: competition from the popular dailies, falling attendance at race meetings, and the high cost of producing a specialist newspaper.
The postbag I've had since the announcement was made in April has been absolutely fantastic. In fact, I've said before now that every person who had written to us commenting on the sadness of the situation had actually bought the paper, we probably wouldn't be closing.
What's the atmosphere like in the newsroom this week?
Well, considering what's going to happen at the end of this week, it's pretty good. Morale's not as low as you might expect, but obviously some people are very worried about the future.
Have all your staff been able to find jobs?
There's still quite a number of them looking around. I think it's probably inevitable that some of them will go out of the business. They're extremely specialised, and while they may be very good at what they're doing, the demand for that sort of skill is just not there.
Over the years, the Chronicle has gained one very special reputation, and that is as an arbiter, or an umpire if you like, in some extremely bizarre sporting enterprises. They've umpired everything from men catching live rats in their mouths to swimming races. And during one such swimming race across Morecambe Bay, a legendary Chronicle writer named Bill Wood actually umpired the race. The only trouble was that Wood got into difficulties, fell out of the boat, and had to actually be rescued by the two contestants. But to this very last day, the letters page of the Chronicle is still used as a sporting umpire.
Well, the Sporting Chronicle, as I suppose like any paper, has its own special personality, its own special features, and that is what will be missed, the Sporting Chronicle.
Can you describe the sort of mood this week? I mean, is it almost like a death in the family?
Well, in some ways it is, and the other ways there is almost a sort of wild euphoria. You're refusing to sort of face next week until it arrives. People are going around and they're making jokes and they're talking about what we're going to do on Friday evening, but underneath I think there is a lot of sadness.
My video, please.
Some of the editorial staff have found jobs, some have not, but everyone's here today for the wake. All newspapers have their own unofficial club. Often it's the nearest pub, and it's here to the Swan with Two Necks that many of the Chronicle staff have gathered to honour their dead paper. A wake for a piece of British newspaper and racing history. After tipping winners for 112 years, the Sporting Chronicle has finally reached the finishing post.
The Swan with Two Necks, eh? Not that I've ever been there. Well, not much. Now, you've heard of the tidy village, even the world